Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. Welcome to tonight's live stream. We are reviewing this weekend's championship action. It was game week number 31. Bad week again at the top there for Leeds. Down at the bottom, bad week for the bottom four. And finally, my prophecy of Charlton joining that bottom four has actually happened. Let's start at the top as ever, and let's just quickly say it was game week number 31. We're at the start of another 3-game week with this set of games. At the end of this week, midweek games and weekend games, we are going to be up to 33 games, only 13 to go. Greetings, everybody in the chat. Let's start at the very top, and it is West Brom leading the way up at the top. They have now got a 4-point gap on Leeds in second place. Leeds now tied with Fulham in third place, with Forest a point back and Brentford a point back there. So a good weekend for West Brom. Well, let's look at the top six. Everybody won except Leeds. So let's not say a good weekend for West Brom. Let's just say it was a bad weekend for Leeds. But West Brom, I was at their game. Oliver says, fair play to West Brom. We was terrible. Oliver, a Millwall fan there. And terrible certainly were the conditions. Storm Ciara in full effect. Robin says, who has the best goal difference by about 10 goals? No cheating. I've got the table in front of me. It's got to be Brentford then, hasn't it? Let's have a look. Goal difference. It's Brentford by 5 goals, Robin there. So Millwall and West Brom in the midst of the storm. Obviously, Man City can call off a game and not particularly lose the Sky money, but Millwall can't afford to call off a game. They do everything they can to get these games on and get that Sky TV money. More power to them, I say. But this one goes ahead. West Brom, good value for the win. It was Kravinovic just before half-time, and then O'Shea in the second half from Grzycki's corner. Baggy's fan says, you don't just win at Millwall away in a storm and not go up. There might be something in that. But West Brom without their first choice fullbacks, but with Pereira back. Millwall fans had a bit of fun with Pereira, but he's a class player and he did make the difference. Hit the post early on, a few balls. Mark says, are you okay considering how we're talking about West Brom? They were good, Mark. I saw it first hand. Good value for that win. Could have been more if Hal Robson-Kanu had his shooting boots on. DS16 says, I pray we don't go down Villa because half my family of baggies won't be able to handle the boots. Would we see Villa and West Brom swapping divisions? I must admit, I couldn't tell you about the Premier League side of that, but I can tell you that West Brom are looking now good at the top of the Championship. Yes, Robinson's there, started. Yes, Grzycki's been bought in, but God, Pereira makes a difference to them, doesn't he? If they can get those fullbacks back in, and someone just mentioned, I think it was Oliver, about the West Brom bench. I saw them trotting in front of me. I saw Charlie Austin. I saw Hegazi as well. Hegazi would play centre half for most. Hegazi getting the Leeds team, wouldn't he? And would play centre half for most Championship teams. So good day for West Brom. They've now won 2 on the trot. They are 4 points clear. Let me just flip this. Animation says Kravinovic, Phillips, Edwards. Yeah, I totally agree. All high-end Championship players. West Brom off to Reading and at home to Forest. So that could be an interesting one at the end of the week. But West Brom could have done some damage by then. Good weekend for the Baggies. It was a bad weekend for Leeds, as we've said. The only team in the top 6 to lose. Robin says 70% possession. We knew exactly what the pattern of this game was going to be, and yet again under Bielsa it goes against Leeds United. It was 2-0. Amiobi with the opener on 31. He catches Kiko Casilla out on his near post. Breakaway goal there. Harrison, who I like, who some Leeds fans weren't sure about, but it's a big mistake by him getting caught, and who was it? Lolly broke away to slide it to Tyler. Walker, excuse me. Robin says Leeds fans not happy with the lineup. Joel says Lolly the difference. Jaggy says, felt embarrassed watching that. I suppose the mitigating factor for Leeds, look, the goalie is not playing well, the centre forward has lost confidence, and Phillips was still suspended, so he will be back. But when you look, Robin says Hernandez out of position. Henry says Leeds looked a lot worse than I thought. Steve says Leeds had scoring problems last season, still have. Agree with all of these comments coming up in the chat. We knew how it was going to go though with Forest. They very stable, aren't they? Very sturdy. Sit in there and try and wait for Leeds to break, move the fullbacks forward, take advantage. Exactly what they did for both goals. Graben could have had another one. Henry says Worrell was epic for Forest. Robin says Forest looking solid. Solid and stable has been the word, sorry to sound like Theresa May, for Forest all season, hasn't it? But Leeds, oh my God, it's bad. Is it 4 defeats in 5 games? I know I'm pulling this stat out of my backside, but I know it's something like 4 defeats in the last 6 at the end of last season as well. Mark says Leeds have the same 5-game record as Luton. Not quite. They've got 1 more point than that, but I take the point as well. Leeds stuttering badly. And the question now, will we see Meslier playing goal? Will we see Augustin play up front? We'll certainly see Phillips in there. Henry asked, do I think Leeds will recover? Yes, I do. And we talk about all this tragedy. They're still in 2nd place, aren't they? That says a lot for the division. But will Bielsa make the big moves? He tends not to, doesn't he? He tends to be so loyal to the people that have kept Leeds. Frankly, Redrazani tweeted, didn't he? We've been in the top 3 for basically 2 years, but they could finish in the top 3 again and end up not in the Premier League at the end of it. So real crunch time. Maybe Leeds fans will hope that they're getting the blip out of the way. But Joel says Leeds have not replaced Roof. Hernandez has been poor. That's true. There was a lot of goals from Roof, wasn't there? And far be it for me to criticise Hernandez because he's one of my favourite players, but he was so good in the first half of last season. Very high. And Leeds, now, I'll be there tomorrow night. They go to Brentford and then it's Bristol City on Saturday as well. So interesting time there. Let's move down another position where it's Fulham who have now tied Leeds on points. They went to Blackburn, didn't they? And it was Mitrovic. Obviously, predictably, Trevor says Mitro's on fire. He's been on fire pretty much every time he's put a Fulham shirt on. I'd like to see his goals per game certainly in the Championship for Fulham. It's off the charts good, isn't it? And he spins and slams that one in low. Robin says Fulham still not had a decent run yet. They've had a few little nice streaks, 4 or 5 games. And I mean, look at this one at the moment. They are 13 points in the last 5. Leeds have got 3 points in the last 5 and West Brom have got 7. So you can see how that gap has closed up. Fulham, well, they'll just be pleased to have a sniff of the top 2, you would say, even though West Brom are 4 points ahead. They're well in the fight. They're level on points. I haven't seen, I'll do a little quick check of the midweek fixtures. Oh, they're at Millwall, so that won't necessarily be the easiest trip, is it ever? But Fulham, good win for them. Blackburn still in the top half. Blackburn have been in good form and they don't lose too many at home. So, Blackburn, a good win for Fulham. Really decent performance. Arsenal fan says, I don't think Fulham will overtake Leeds. They could do it, couldn't they, this midweek? Trevor says West Brom, Fulham. Oh, April the 18th. That sounds like Easter weekend. That's a big one, isn't it? West Brom and Fulham. Although the big games have kind of disappointed this season, haven't they? I'm casting my mind back to that New Year's Day West Brom Leeds game that was a bit, okay, we'll share the points and all leave happy. But Fulham in 3rd place, level on points with Leeds. In 2nd place, Forest, as we've already mentioned, I should have said, they have, 11 points in the last 6. They're trotting along very nicely. Only 7 defeats. Only West Brom have lost less games than Forest. Forest in 4th. They're all in the target zone of Leeds in that 2nd place. And a West Brom slip and wins for Fulham or Forest in midweek, and it could all start to get very tight. Us neutrals like to see a big slog, but it only ever tends to be 3 teams at most, doesn't it? So we'll see how that goes. Robin says, have Brentford ever been in the top division? I think they have, but many, many years ago. Oliver says, Millwall, Fulham on Wednesday. If we lose, our season is over. Yeah, you start to get that, don't you? If you're in the middle of the table, sort of 12, 13 games to go, you think, where are we actually going with this? So would be a fillip for Millwall to win that one. Brentford got the win in the end, didn't they? A bit of a topsy-turvy one. They beat Borough 3-2. It was 1-0 Janvier, 1-1 Wing, and Buemo scores again. That must be 12 or 13 for Buemo. Fletcher then equalises again, and Watkins with the late win. Southwest Grizzle says, as a Fulham fan, I'm concerned about Forest. You think Fulham have a good chance? Yes, I do. Just purely on, I think Fulham have probably got pound for pound as good a team as West Brom, and certainly a better team than Leeds. They just don't have a better manager than either of those two, do they? Parker, inexperienced. I'm not saying he won't become a good manager, but you'd think that might be the thing. But we were on Brentford. They get the win on 87 minutes. Watkins with his 20th goal of the season. Arsenal fans says it looked like Brentford were lucky to beat Borough. I have not seen the stats, but certainly you can score against Brentford, can't you? But they're scoring a hell of a lot of goals. That is 52, so second only to West Brom in the goal scoring stakes. And have West Brom quieted that down a little bit? I'm sure all of those goals, or a high percentage of those goals, were coming up until December. But look, Leeds and West Brom both went on very, very bad runs. Looking good for Brentford. They're in 5th, but they're tucked in. They're in shooting distance of 2nd place. Preston back into the top 6. They went to Wigan and had a good victory, didn't they? Barkhausen and Johnson. I mentioned Pereira getting back in for West Brom. Johnson started the season so brilliantly. He's back in for Preston now and scoring and setting stuff up. So maybe he can be a real big influence there. Dunkley gets one back. Dunkley scored loads this season, hasn't he? I think he scored a couple of braces, which obviously helps when you're a centre-half, bump the old goals up. But Preston, it's good, really good form, actually. Let me just flash this up. That is 11 points in the last 4 wins over Wigan, Barnsley and Charlton. I always do say this when it flashes up, and they're all against lower teams. When you want to see a team in really good form, you want to see them beating top 8, top 10 teams as well, just to prove it. But you can only beat what is put in front of you. There is a sense, though, that Preston may come a cropper against those bigger teams as the season goes on. I don't know how many they've got left to play, it has to be said. But I've said for a while, 6th place is up for grabs. I do fancy the top 5, and I have for 4 or 5 weeks or so to stay the same. Robin says, any chance Derby can make the playoffs? No, given the FFP will probably take 9 points off them as well. God, they're 10 points back, Robin, as well. No, I don't think that's happening. Is it? Arsenal fan says, if West Brom beat Reading, Leeds, draw at Brentford and Fulham, we can find lots of permutations for quick little runs. But yeah, looking good, West Brom. Bristol City, they'd won 4 on the trot. And they were neatly taken apart by Birmingham, weren't they? Took the lead, Bristol City. This was on Friday night. First minute goal from Patterson, but then Hogan again, he scored 2-2. OG from Vyman and Jutkovic, actually. Lovely goal from the big guy spinning and dinking it over. Both of these teams confuse me, frankly. Bristol City, out of nowhere, kind of win 4 games, and they're back into the top 6. And then they go and lose again, and they're out of it. So Streaky Lee, Southwest Grizzlies says, how important do I think goal difference will become? I don't think it'll decide the automatics, but I think, as always, it will be very important in the playoff positions. And normally that tight there. Normally, the top 2 does kind of decide itself, and those teams don't need goal difference. But we saw it with Brighton and Borough, didn't we? 4 or 5 years ago, now shooting out on the last day for goal difference there. So Bristol City in 7th, still level on points with 6th position, so looking all right, but they need to be more consistent, don't they? Birmingham in 15th. Look, Birmingham really good form, aren't they? 11 points from 5 for them is really good. Away win. Actually, they've beaten Forest and Bristol City in the last 2. And win at Luton is a win at Luton. But yeah, Birmingham coming back fairly nicely. Maybe Hogan can be a good boost for them. They seem to have spent the whole season looking for a partner for Jutkovic. And Bella, I think, was a good signing as well. That was a clever one. Robin says, have I predicted a Birmingham correct score? No. There we go. Oliver says, still baffled how this fair play works. West Brom meant to be paying major wages. Yeah, but remember, West Brom will have taken a 35 million quid parachute payment, so they're probably not making a loss on these big wages yet. These parachute teams have such a massive advantage in those first 2 years, don't they? You will see if West Brom don't go up, a big cutting of that salary bill as the parachute payment drops to something like 12 to 15 million as opposed to 35 million. And I hear you, if you're a Wigan fan, a Barnsley fan, a Charlton fan, a Millwall fan, etc., 15 million, you'd still take that, won't it? Enzo says, have I reviewed the league match? Yes, I have. I think you can spool back and listen, or you could stay in the chat here. Diddly doodah, where are we? We're on to Cardiff. How did Cardiff get into 8th place? Jesus, I didn't see that one coming. Cardiff. Well, this is how. It's an away win over Luton this week. Cardiff actually haven't lost that many. Tomlin on 73. Tomlin's been so good since Harris has been there. Cardiff actually now, there's a 5-game unbeaten run. The points isn't incredible. 9 points in those last 5. It's still 2 points per game, isn't it? But into 8th place, they're away back, only 4 points back. But yeah, that's a moneyed team. They've only lost 7 games, haven't they? That would be a real unpredictable charge. Nobody has mentioned Cardiff to me in all of these videos. But look, they're there, aren't they? They've got the budget. Didn't really spend in January. Although animation right on cue says Adoma, good signing. So, keep your eye on Cardiff there. That caught me unawares, I have to say, in 8th place. Swansea in 9th. Isaac Vassell, why is he not featuring for Cardiff? I believe he got a bad injury at the start of the season, didn't he, Vassell? I think that's the case here. Animation agrees that he's injured. Swansea 2, Derby 3. Derby win an away game. My God. Waghorn, oh, I miss you, Waghorn at Ipswich, gives them the lead. Dander and Norton, 2 in 2 minutes, flips it back over. And then Holmes and Lawrence with the goals. Lawrence with the winner on 80 minutes. How good have Derby been since Rooney signed? They're just points o'clock, aren't they? Up to 43, close to getting in the top half. And a big thing for Derby to get that away win. Dean's worried about QPR going down. Dean, you only probably need about another 8 points. Do not worry. Dave says our defence is awful. But away win, there's a change happening, isn't it? I don't know if it is Rooney that's made the difference or whether things have just calmed down after all the Keogh nonsense at the start of the season. Bennett going out now to, where did he go? To Millwall, didn't he? Although Jam ends says Swansea threw this one away, so many chances. Max says, thoughts on Reading's Ajaria? I think he's very good, Max, and I think it's 3 million he converts for. I think that's very, very good business, and you'll either have a very good player there or it'll be sold for much more. I remember doing QPR versus Reading earlier in the season. We all know how good Eze is and how much he's worth, and Ajaria, apart from looking similar in the hair department, looked really, really good. Oliver says, just tuned in, brightening up on my journey on Northern Rail. Here we go. Hours of fun in the storm on the trains this weekend. So yes, big good form, good shout for Derby. They're looking at the top half. Swansea dropping away from that top 6. They're going to be in trouble. Their parachute payments dropping off soon. We've mentioned Millwall. We are on to Sheffield Wednesday, who drew away at Barnsley. It was Windass with his first goal, and then a bit of a weird one. It was Woodrow, wasn't it, lobbing it in after a mistake from, I don't want to say Lumley because he plays for QPR, I want to say Dawson in the Sheffield Wednesday goal. this result absolutely no help to either team, really. When you look at the form, loss, draw has knocked Sheffield Wednesday down. They've seen Cardiff and Bristol City and Preston zoom past them. Robin says, I think Barnsley are down now. It's a bad run, isn't it? 4 points from the last 6 after that really good run. My God, look at that gap. 8 points gap back to Charlton. Yeah, Barnsley not looking good. Did they have their go too soon? I think it was Dean asked about FFP on Sheffield Wednesday. Wait for an international break. Wait for a slow news day, and I'm sure the EFL will throw that one in there somewhere. But I'm sure lots of lawyers are writing lots of letters and making lots of money in it. So yeah, Wednesday dropping off 6 points off, and yeah, Barnsley. Both of those teams need wins. Moving on, Hull. Well, they stopped their losing run, didn't they? But it was a draw at Reading. I think it was a late one and a bit of a jammy goal, if my memory serves from watching the highlights. Yeah, a beater gives Reading the lead on Wilkes with a deflection. To be honest, if you're Hull, you'll take anything you can get at the moment after 4 defeats. I think these teams, QPR look 38, Reading 39, Birmingham 40, Hull 40. I think when you look that there's 13 games and they probably only need another 6 points, really. I always think 46 points, point per game in this league, you'll be fine. Wigan are off it, third bottom, Barnsley away off it, and Luton away off it. So I wouldn't necessarily worry if I were a Reading fan or a Hull fan, but Hull, certainly you'd be looking at next season as a bit of a worry, unless the alarms give Grant McCann some of the Bowen money. Not going to happen, is it? So yeah, if you can get a price on Hull to finish in the bottom 6 now for next season, I would be backing that. Hey, they could sell the club and someone could spend the money. Not going to happen. None of these things are going to happen, is it? So it was Hull 1, Reading 1. Reading, no wins in 6. They're only 4 points in the last 6. So Reading tailing off a little bit after. They don't want to fizzle out, do they, after a really good start under Mark Bowen. We've already done Birmingham and their good win. We've done Reading just now. Let's do QPR. It was Huddersfield 2, QPR 0. As I said, I think teams in that range of points. Hey, look. John says, evening all bit early. Sorry, John, I just went for it as soon as I got home. You can spool back where I said nice things about your team, Birmingham, John. So I do think teams like QPR are okay on 38, but that does require them to pretty much still notch 0.5 points per game. Yeah, so if QPR do 0.5 points per game, they're going to finish on 46. 0.5 is terrible as well. That's a draw and a defeat every 2 games. So that's the type of form you need to stay up, really, from QPR or Reading's position. But still, Rangers on a bad run. 3 straight defeats, 4 defeats in 5. Same as what we mentioned for Leeds. Dean says, what happened to QPR? Lumley. That's what John says. I won't feel safe until we get to 50. Yeah, I think Peterborough once went down with 50, didn't they? But I can't see that happening this season. Not looking at the bottom 3 totals at the moment. Hello to Dora on tour. Everyone follow him. Robin says Wigan are a nightmare. We always think they go down. They never do. They need to pep up that home form, though, don't they, Wigan? Huddersfield. That is 6-7 points in the last 4. If you're down the bottom and you do that, any 4 games, you're looking good. Didn't Burton go down on 50? I'm not entirely sure. Forgive me if they did. I haven't researched that. I know normally 46 is fine points per game. Huddersfield moving away nicely. 6-point gap over Wigan. And Barnsley look like they've played themselves out of it. We've said for ages on this channel, haven't we? Huddersfield and Stoke will likely finish above Charlton, and they finally swapped places this weekend. So good win for Huddersfield. Dean says Huddersfield played well. I'm sure he was likely at the game, so we'll take his word for it there. Millwall Ipswich, Ben, says Oliver, next year. Not looking likely at the moment, I'm afraid, buddy. Sad as it makes me say. Stoke 3, Charlton 1 is the last one. Stoke are on really good form, aren't they? I know they had that big defeat against Derby, but you'll take a 4-0 defeat if the other 6 games in that period bring you 13 points. So, yeah, really good. John points out 3 that came up to go back down. Hasn't happened for a while. It's possible, isn't it? I don't know if Charlton have still got to play Wigan, or if so, when and where, because it makes a big difference where that game is, because it'll be a hard one for Charlton if it's at Wigan. But yeah, Stoke, really good win there. Let me just bung up these goal scorers and we'll just run through that. McLean, he's had quite a good season, hasn't he? McLean chipped in a lot from on the wing. Purrington for Charlton equalisers. Ince and Powell. Shouldn't be down there, Stoke, when you reel off some of those names. They're kind of a lot of proven championship players. Connor says Borough could go down. I suppose Borough are... I know they're only 2 points lower than QPR. Borough, you need another 10 points to get to 46. Max says, if Leeds and West Brom top 2, who do you think wins the playoffs? Forest, you wouldn't want to play Forest in a 2-legged semi-final, would you? They're going to be hard to play against. You wouldn't back against Fulham, but then Fulham is tactically well set up. You'd say Forest tactically are better than all of those teams. Would you want to go away to Preston in the first leg of a playoff semi? Could be some interesting ones. You look at the Fulham first team and you think they should be able to win a 2-legger, especially given they get a home game. But look, Forest is not going to be an easy game in the playoffs, put it that way. I've seen Forest a few times. I don't think I've seen Forest concede a goal actually this season. Robin's mentioned in 6th place could even be Cardiff. God, you wouldn't want them. Bristol City could do anything if they go in there. Playoffs could be very, very interesting. But yeah, just to finish off, Stoke looking good, pulling away. And yeah, Barnsley do seems to have really stitched themselves off. Right, let's do some questions. Do I think we can see Ivan Toney even in the Championship next season? Yes, I do. He destroyed my team, Ipswich, with Smodic and Dembele the other week. I think Toney could even go higher as well. I think someone might take a chance. Animation says, what do you think it is that the current bottom 3 all tend to dominate possession? Yeah, that's a fair point. Maybe with the exception of Wigan, but Barnsley and Luton were very open teams. Maybe they needed a bit of a tweak. I do admire them for the way they've kept going. But what you will say about Barnsley and Luton is they tried to play the same style and they sold key players when they went up, didn't they? Both the Luton fullbacks, Stacey and Justin, went, didn't they? Barnsley sold Pinnock, didn't they? And the fella who someone will remind me, the other centre-half, Lindsay, went to Stoke, didn't he? And Kiefer Moore. So Robin says, how can Leeds find the winning way again? Well, they can put Calvin Phillips back in their team and put Ben White back to centre-half. That will help immediately. They can get Hernandez maybe back out to the right. That would require Forshaw to get fit. Basically, what I'm saying is if Leeds didn't have any injuries, they'd be absolutely fine. That's not fair to say because every team gets injuries, don't they? You look at West Brom going without Diangana and Pereira for a while. So Leeds, they're just going to have to rely on the process, and maybe we'll see Augustin. Paraplegic Sloth says, Barnsley can have Lindsay back. He's crap, there we go. John says, Bielsa ball doesn't work in a 46-game season. John, you may well be right. I just think if he had a squad of more than about 16 players, it would work. But yeah, maybe Bielsa ball relies on a small squad, but there we go. Any more questions, I will take them. I won't do predictions. Yeah, that is indeed his style, says Johnny. Wants the small squad. He wants to ram home his system. And as always, we say your biggest strengths are your biggest weaknesses. And maybe that is just it for Leeds. We'll see. They're certainly a good watch, aren't they? Great story all the time. Anyone else, any questions, I will take them. We'll do some predictions. I'll try and get something out before the games. Tomorrow, Arsenal fan says, do you think Rotherham will go up? Yes, I think Rotherham are going to win League One. They've timed it beautifully. Would a 4-4-2 suit Leeds? Probably, but he's not going to do it, is he? He's just not going to do it. I don't know, not even a 4-4-2, just drop Bamford back in. Leeds don't have a shape, do they? Just drop Bamford back in. Connor says, am I doing Millwall Fulham? I'm not. I'm doing Brentford versus Leeds. Mark says about Diangana, I did literally just make that point, Mark. So I agree with you. Big player there. As I just mentioned, I'll be at Brentford versus Leeds tomorrow night. And we all know that the Leeds curse is a crock of shit because they lost at home to Wigan, didn't they? And they lost, and I was nowhere near. So we'll see what they do. Robin says, will I do Cardiff again this season? Do you know, I think I might have a free weekend the following weekend. So presumably nowhere's a sellout. I may see who. I do need to see Cardiff again. I do need to see. I don't think I've even seen Birmingham all season. So there's a few teams I need to see. Who wins the Golden Boot, Mitro or Watkins? That's a good question, isn't it, Terry? They're probably. I don't know who's going to win it, but I'd like to see one of them get 30. If the big teams go up, how competitive would they be? Let me tell you about League One. I think it was Chris who just asked that. League One is rubbish, so I don't expect any of those teams to be competitive. It all depends on signings and things of that nature. There is no good team in League One. Rotherham will be hard to play against, but they're hardly going to come up and trouble the top 10 or something. But what are Reading's chances against West Brom? Where's the game? I can't think. Probably not good given the form at the moment. Yeah, whoever that just said it's a London curse. Avoid the Kew Bridge. I'll go down there early, guys. I'll be fine. I'm working in Hayes, so it's a nice close one for me. John says, no, and I'll let Cov will come up and need the ground share again. Just increase the rent. Yeah, Coventry. Actually, in terms of pattern of play, and I know Rotherham have a pattern of play, it's just very direct. Coventry actually are probably better than all of those big teams that just got the mention in terms of coming out, in terms of Portsmouth, Ipswich and Sunderland. Bit of a sense that they've just got better players, and Coventry actually have a better strategy. So that would be my thoughts on the League One. Championship fans, do not be scared about Oxford animation. I do agree have a good pattern of play, but they just lost the two lads to Brentford, didn't they? Baptiste and Fosu, so that's damaged them quite severely, hasn't it? We'll see how Oxford go on. I should be at Ipswich versus Oxford actually on the 22nd. But yes, my overarching point here is Championship fans, do not be scared of anybody in League One. And those teams that we thought we'd be scared of, Barnsley and Luton, they were really good. They had the pattern of play and they sold the best players, didn't they? So there we go. Right, I'm going to bid everybody farewell. I'll try and get some prediction stuff out. It might be late tomorrow, excuse me. So I'll try and get something out. It won't be a stream though because I'll be out and about. Thank you everybody for getting involved in this stream, especially if you survived 32 minutes and 30 seconds. Hit follow on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. It's going to be a good one, a 3-game week, lots of interesting stuff. So keep in touch. Hit subscribe, ring the bell. I'm sure you already have done if you're here. And I always plug, you can support monetarily at patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you everybody for watching. I am going to go and make dinner. John says need to see Bellingham this season. What is that? Because he's going to leave, John. Is it going to be my only chance? Yeah, I do need to see Bellingham. Yeah, I agree with that. Right. Thank you very much. Oliver says, should the Brentford pattern be the way Millwall do business? The Brentford pattern should be the way everybody do business. There we go. Right. Thank you everybody much. Thank you, John, in the chat. Thank you, Dean, in the chat. Thank you everybody for joining in. If I haven't mentioned your name, I apologise. They fly up really quickly and then they disappear, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to bid you farewell and say over and out, and we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy the game. Check out my review, Brentford versus Leeds. That'll be out about 10:30. I'm sure Leeds won't let us down for another story, will they? Right, over and out. See you all soon.